The text blinked on my phone screen like a sinister pulse. Account balance. $0. My fingers trembled as I stared, disbelief carving sharp lines across my face. I refreshed the app. Same thing. Empty. Absolutely nothing. My heart thumped, not just from shock but from a creeping, suffocating panic. I knew instantly whose signature I would find in this catastrophe, my brother-in-law's. My stomach churned. I could hear the faint murmur of the post-reunion chaos through the thin apartment walls. Plates clinked, laughter floated down the hall like some cruel reminder of normalcy. And there in my head his voice echoed. The snort, dismissive, triumphant. We needed it more. It had been my idea to host the family reunion. My apartment had been transformed into a fragile echo of warmth, laughter spilling into every corner, the scent of roasted chicken and cinnamon lingering in the air. For weeks I had prepared, balancing work, life, and the constant undertow of anxiety that my family had a knack for drama. I wanted to create something perfect, something that would remind everyone, my husband, my siblings, my in-laws, that family wasn't just blood. It was effort and love and loyalty. Apparently loyalty had a price. It started small, a misplaced credit card, a withdrawal I had barely noticed. I had brushed it off as a banking glitch. But the numbers now screamed the truth in blaring, merciless neon. Someone had taken everything. Every hard-earned cent. And the culprit wasn't some faceless stranger. It was someone I had welcomed, someone I had trusted blindly. The first memory of him, the casual ease with which he lounged on my sofa, laughing at jokes I didn't even make, flashed before me. He always had that way of leaning in just a little too comfortably, smiling as though the world owed him approval. My stomach twisted. My mind raced through the reunion, the way he complimented the roast, the way he took the last slice of pie before anyone else could reach it, the way he murmured something about how tight money was these days, while glancing at my husband. Had I been blind all this time? Or had I simply wanted to be? I couldn't confront my husband yet. Not now. The shock needed time to settle. My hands were clammy, my mind a storm of accusation and self-doubt. Had I been too trusting? Too naive? How could someone so close, someone I considered family, betray me so thoroughly? The room around me felt oppressive. The hum of the refrigerator, the distant sirens outside, the faint buzz of a neighbor's television. Every sound sharpened the ache of betrayal. My husband walked in cheerful, wiping his hands on a dish towel. "Hey," he said. "You look like you've seen a ghost." I swallowed, trying to force calm. "Just tired," I murmured. But my voice betrayed me. It was tight, brittle, trembling under the weight of dread. He frowned, lingering at the doorway. Something wrong. I wanted to tell him everything at once, to scream until the walls shook, to make him witness my devastation. But I stopped myself. I couldn't. Not yet. Not when the full truth had to be untangled from the lies. Instead, I nodded faintly, forcing a smile. "It's nothing. Really." He left, oblivious, leaving me alone with the buzzing phone and the hollow pit in my stomach. I scrolled through my recent transactions, each line a punch to the gut. Transfers labeled vaguely, ATM withdrawals at odd hours, charges at stores I'd never visited. The reality crashed down in layers. It wasn't a mistake. It was calculated, deliberate, malicious. My thoughts turned to the subtle signs I had dismissed. The way he had lingered too long near my laptop, the way he asked jokingly about my passwords, the casual comments about how generous I was with money. My blood ran cold. I had been leaving breadcrumbs, and he had devoured them with a predator's precision. I had trusted him. I had welcomed him into my home, into my life. And he had stripped me bare. The betrayal burned, but beneath it, a quieter, more insidious ache settled. The betrayal of my husband, my own complicity in believing the world was safe, that family always had integrity. Could he have known? Had my husband seen anything, suspected anything, and done nothing? Or worse, had he been involved in some way, blinded by loyalty, love, or fear? I couldn't think straight. I needed air, movement, clarity. I grabbed my coat and left the apartment, stepping into the crisp evening. The streets were slick with rain. The city lights smeared across wet pavement like some abstract, mocking painting. I walked without direction, letting the cold bite into me, hoping it would distract me from the betrayal that twisted my gut. As I rounded a corner, I spotted him, my brother-in-law, leaning against a streetlight, phone in hand, a grin that made my skin crawl. He looked up, saw me, and smirked knowingly, the kind of smirk that says I've won. "What are you doing out here?" I asked, voice sharper than I intended. He shrugged. Casual, infuriatingly relaxed. "Just finishing up some errands." "You?" "Walking," I said, and I meant it, though my legs felt unsteady. "Thinking." He tilted his head, amusement flickering in his eyes. "Thinking about money, maybe?" I froze, the words slicing through me. How could he? My pulse surged. "You?" I couldn't even form the sentence. My throat tightened. He laughed, low and knowing. "Relax. You have plenty more where that came from." The venom in that sentence made me stagger back. "That's not funny." He shrugged again, infuriatingly light, almost casual. "Maybe not. But it's true. We needed it more than you did." Everything in me wanted to scream, to shove him into the cold rain, to demand explanations, apologies, restitution. But I held back. I needed more than a confession. I needed proof. I needed the satisfaction of seeing him caught in his own moral trap. I returned home drenched and shaking. My apartment felt different now, hostile, invaded. Every cushion, every photo frame, every object I had once considered safe was tainted. I sat at my kitchen table, staring at the blank screen of my laptop, searching, calculating, unraveling the threads of deceit. Then I noticed it. A series of emails he hadn't thought to delete. Messages from my bank confirming withdrawals, from stores thanking him for purchases. He had left his fingerprints in plain sight. Hidden only in plain sight. My fingers flew over the keyboard, copying, saving, documenting. This wasn't just theft. This was an intimate, precise assault on my life, my security, my trust. Hours passed. I barely ate, barely drank. Each message, each number, each detail added to the mosaic of betrayal. My husband returned, this time with a wary tension in his shoulders. He sat opposite me, trying to read my face. I didn't meet his eyes. "Not yet." He began, hesitant. "I don't know what's wrong, but you seem off." I closed my laptop, a snap louder than intended. "You need to know something," I said, voice steady despite the storm raging inside me. "Your brother, he's stolen from me. Taken everything." He blinked, confusion knitting his brows. "What? That's impossible." "He wouldn't." I slammed the transaction history in front of him. "Here. All of it. Every last cent. Did you know?" His face paled. I didn't know. I swear." But did I believe him? My heart wanted to desperately, clinging to the fragments of trust one had left. But my mind whispered the impossible. Betrayal didn't happen in isolation. It rippled outward, touching everything, tainting the people I loved. And somewhere, deep in the core of my pain, a new feeling emerged. A cold, precise, simmering need for justice. Not revenge in the petty sense, but a meticulous, undeniable confrontation. He would not simply smirk and walk away. Not this time. I closed my eyes, letting the weight of betrayal press down on me, and silently vowed, this was far from over. The next morning, I woke with a clarity I hadn't felt the night before. Anger and betrayal had crystallized into resolve. I wasn't going to let this end in whispers, excuses, or vague promises of restitution. I needed answers. I needed confrontation. I needed the truth, stripped bare of his smirks and my husband's anxious silences. I called my bank first, requesting a detailed statement, flagged all the suspicious transactions, and froze what remained of my accounts. The process was tedious, frustrating, but each confirmation, the official emails, the traces of transfers, was a small victory. The evidence was undeniable. I wasn't imagining it. I wasn't losing my mind. Someone had crossed a line I never thought existed. By mid-afternoon, I forced myself into the car, hands tight on the wheel. I drove to his apartment, the streets hazy with late-morning sun reflecting off wet pavement, the world indifferent to my chaos. He opened the door before I could even knock, the grin still plastered on his face like some grotesque mask. "Hey," he said, casual, as if we were just neighbors chatting over the fence. I stepped inside, closing the door behind me with deliberate force. "We need to talk," I said, voice low but carrying the weight of authority. He laughed lightly, brushing off my intensity. "About what? Money troubles?" Family drama. Don't play games, I snapped. You stole from me. You took everything. I have the evidence. Every transfer, every withdrawal right there. You're not walking away from this. His grin faltered ever so slightly and my pulse quickened. There it was, the first crack. The mask had slipped. Look, he started. I didn't think you'd notice. I thought it would. Would what? I cut him off, taking a step closer. Disappear? Be forgiven because we're family? You don't get to decide that. He leaned back, hands raised, suddenly aware of the line he had crossed. It was temporary. I needed it. Things are rough for me. You have so much, I thought. You thought it was mine to take? My voice shook, a mixture of rage and disbelief. My home, my life, my security. You think that's yours to raid when it suits you? He didn't answer. His silence was deafening. And in that silence I saw the truth, the selfish, calculated betrayal that had hollowed me out from the inside. I should call the police, I said, almost whispering, though my hands clenched into fists at my sides. I should press charges and make sure everyone knows exactly what you've done. He swallowed finally. Wait, please. But I shook my head. No. You're going to fix this. You're going to make it right. You're going to face my husband and explain yourself. Fully. Honestly. No lies. No smirks. The ride home was silent, the air thick with tension. My husband waited when I returned. Anxiety etched into every line of his face. He looked at me, searching, uncertain. Did you? I confronted him, I said flatly. I told him he's responsible for what he did. You need to hear it too. We drove to his apartment together, a tense quiet filling the car, and when the door opened the scene was almost cinematic. My husband standing firm and my brother-in-law cornered, no smirk left, looking suddenly small. You need to tell him, I said, nodding toward my husband. Everything. Every detail. He hesitated, swallowing hard, then began. The words tumbled out, rationalizations, excuses, confessions. Each one hit like a hammer. My husband's face shifted from confusion to disbelief to raw, fiery anger. I stayed quiet, letting him take it all in. I didn't need to say anything. The betrayal was loud enough on its own. You, my husband finally choked out. You betrayed me, betrayed us? I didn't think it would matter, he muttered, voice small now. The arrogance was gone, replaced with a pitiful awareness of the consequences. Did it ever occur to you, my husband said, voice rising, that this would destroy everything? Our trust, our family. The look on his face, the mixture of hurt and fury, made something click inside me. Betrayal wasn't just the theft of money. It was the theft of safety, of belief, of the quiet comfort I had once known. And now, watching the man shrink under the weight of his own actions, I understood something else. Power could shift in the blink of an eye. You're going to make this right, my husband said. Every cent. And I want proof. You'll apologize, face consequences, and earn back nothing for free. He nodded, barely able to meet our eyes, the full weight of his actions pressing down. And then I did something unexpected. I spoke, my voice soft but unwavering. You've taken everything from me, but you haven't taken me. Not my dignity, not my strength. That's yours to regret every day you live. The tension in the room was palpable. He nodded again, unable to respond. I turned toward my husband. We need to rebuild. Not just the money. Everything. Trust. Safety. Belief. And that won't be easy. My husband reached for my hand, squeezing it tightly. We'll do it. Together. The rest of the afternoon passed in bureaucratic tedium. Calls to the bank, alerts, legal advice. But beneath it all was a sense of quiet, simmering triumph. Not revenge in the petty sense, but the satisfaction of holding someone accountable, watching the carefully constructed illusion of their power crumble. Weeks later, the money was restored. Official apologies were made, legal documents signed. But more importantly, the balance of trust shifted. My husband and I had survived the storm, scarred but united. My brother-in-law? He had been forced to confront the consequences of his choices in a way that words alone could never fully convey. One evening I sat alone in my apartment, looking out the window at the city lights. The memories of that reunion, the theft, the betrayal, they still stung, but the raw, jagged pain had dulled. I realized that while trust could be broken, resilience was just as potent, and perhaps even more so. Betrayal had been a brutal teacher, but I had learned the lessons well. Vigilance, courage, the hard-won understanding that love and trust required both openness and boundaries. And somewhere in that understanding, a strange peace settled over me. I had faced the darkness, stared into it, and survived. And I knew unequivocally that no smirk, no casual dismissal, no act of selfishness could ever steal that back from me. The storm had passed. I was still standing,